Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. Today's video consists of excerpts from my weekend video I posted for my members this morning. I hope you find it helpful. Remember to hit that subscribe button and give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Hello again, everyone. Welcome back. This is the weekend market analysis for the week ending Friday, July 18th. All right, we're going to start off here with the ETF Dashboard. This week, all three out of the four indices were up. The Dow was the only one that was slightly negative, and the Qs continue to lead every week. Seems like week after week after week. Now, they're only up, 9.8% on the year, but everything is positive. The Russell is positive barely. When we look at the sectors, we have a little bit of improvement on year to date. Now, we've got 12 up, 4 down, so 75% of the sectors are in positive territory. This week we had 10 up, 6 down. Little bit of improvement from the prior week, which was close to a 50-50. And when you look at what was the leader, the biggest mover was telecom, 2.15%. That's not a huge move on the week. Home construction really got whacked again. They're really struggling, down 3.7%, and they are the leader of the downside here, down 8% on the year. Semiconductors continue, again, another 1% on the week and continue to be strong, up 20% year to date. Double-digit gains on the year. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sectors with double-digit gains. Okay, I'm going to start off with the side-by-side view. The industrials were actually only down 29 points here for this last week. A little doji type candle, not much movement. When you take a look at the SPX, it was up 37 points and the NDX up 384.87. So just continuing to push. The prior week was like a little pause. It was a pause on almost all, on the SPX and the NDX. The Dow was just, a little bit bigger movement. But the trend just continues to push to the upside in here. Let's take a look at the side-by-side, the industrials versus the transports. The transports pulled back, down 346.75 this week. It had 3 strong weeks to the upside, and now we've pulled back in here. So the real question is this counter trend move? And I say counter trend because when you look on a weekly basis, look how the 21 week is below the 55 week in here. Now, the short-term trend is turning or has turned, and it could flip this back positive. I mean, it's got to happen at some point if it's going to break higher, but it also makes you a little suspicious that, what's going on with this trend. Okay, so that's where we sit with the industrials versus the transports. Let's go take a look at the industrials side by side. So here's Friday, down 142.3, and again, down 29 points on the week. So here's that picture. It continues to just trend to the upside, and on all these indices, I'm backing off on the wave 5. The fifth wave position on all of these. You've got to give it a little more room. Now, I say that, and I'm going to, when we look at the indicators, some of these indicators are starting to say, well, maybe we could be getting close to some kind of a turn, or we're getting exhausted. But, we haven't broken down yet. Prices haven't broken down. So I'm going to say that we have a little more room to go here to complete this fifth wave. And that's why I've backed off on the this last wave in your new wave 5. What we're getting just doesn't seem like much, and it doesn't want to collapse. Okay, so I'm gonna give this more room to the upside. We'll see what kind of wave structure develops in here, but this is where I sit right now. And let's take a look at the SPX. And it's going to be a similar kind of thing on the SPX. Down 57 cents, but look how it pushed a higher high intraday. Okay, so above Thursday's high, it just continues to trend. It doesn't even close below the 10-day moving average. Again, on the week, up 37 points. Okay, so here's the count. I still don't, I backed off and I'm saying, don't worry about this. That always seems to do it. Doesn't seem to adjust. Just don't think we're there for minor wave one yet. And yes, I am working a fifth intermediate wave. Okay, and that should be it. Once we get the fifth, we're going to be at the end of the fifth primary wave. The real question is, how long is it going to take to get the fifth intermediate wave? I mean, is it going to be a substantial, multi-year move in here for the fifth wave? You just never really know, because it doesn't look like wave three. For example, let's just take a look at wave three, and let's just compare wave three to wave one, and it doesn't look extended to me. It's not even close. It basically equals at 100%. It equals wave one. So wave three didn't extend. And unless you say wave one extended, to me, what this implies is that there's a pretty good chance that wave five is going to extend. Because one out of the three motive waves usually extends. And it doesn't look to me like one or three have extended at this point. So I usually lean into three, but it clearly didn't. So therefore, you sit back and got to start giving the benefit of the doubt to, strong moves occurring in here. Now, we have had quite a bit of a move coming off that April low. We're going to get a wave two at some point, but this is just going to be, minor wave two. So the real question is, when do we peak? I'm still thinking, as I mentioned the other day, it's going to happen sometime here between now and the first week of September. And then we're going to get a pullback, and maybe it bottoms in November. We'll see. So that's where we sit with the SPX. Okay. Well, let me show you the daily. Of course, we're looking at the daily every day, but I've backed off. I'm saying, okay, I've got to give it benefit of the doubt on this fifth wave for wave one, because I'm just not seeing the wave structure in here on this fifth wave. Okay, so that is the SPX. Now, the market could, pull fast one and start breaking down, but it hasn't done it yet. I know I keep saying that, but that's the reality. NDX. And this is even stronger. Of course, the Qs, the NDX just keeps trending. Down 15.58 on Friday, up 285 for the week. And same wave count. When you look at the weekly, I'm saying wave one doesn't seem to be complete. We're getting up there. We definitely have some divergence, but sometimes, it's got to prove itself out. Sometimes divergences just keep appearing, and they don't, they're just like a little flag going, hey, something's out of sync. But notice how we had this divergence right in here, and you thought, well, okay, well, maybe that was it. And then it pushed higher. Divergence went away. Now, it's still there longer term, but anyway, you get the point. I'm kind of overkilling that. But right now, the key is watching. Do we start to break below, get multiple days below the 10-day? Does the 10-day start to flip and roll over and break below the 21? No, it has not. Just like back here. Okay, so that's where we sit with the NDX. Let's take a look at IWM, and the picture's same here on IWM. Actually, I'm gonna go back to the moving average view. Down $1.59 on IWM, and up 63 cents. A little bit of a pause, 2 weeks in a row, just kind of sitting there. But boy, I tell you, we've had this counter trend move. Is it going to have legs, or when are we going to get the pullback to kind of, get us to go? When I look here, I'm leaning into the fact that a little bit slightly different picture on IWM. I'm leaning into the fact that maybe wave one is complete. This pattern that has happened over the last 6 days, though, does give me pause. Because if we take out Friday's high, then chances are we're going to take out July 10th's high, which was a week ago Thursday, and continue to push. And this is going to signal it's not done. But this has been acting a little bit different than the rest. So that's where I'm sitting right now. I'm staying with the blue. It says the odds are that this wave one may be done now. Okay, so that's the only one out of the four that I'm thinking that minor wave one may be done. All right, Bloomberg Commodity Index up $1.29, so we're getting a little 3-week surge in here. We still got this resistance level that this thing has got to get through, and if it does, wow, this thing should launch. Okay, so that's where we sit with Bloomberg Commodity Index. Let's take a look at WTI, and I want to go right here first. Here's the daily and weekly. Up 95 cents on Friday. So after getting a little breakdown of this trend line, Wednesday, Thursday, we snapped back some, okay? But down $1.12 on the week, and I don't need this to show. I just one day only. I don't need that line to show on the weekly. It just doesn't help. Doesn't help at all. And I want to look at the orange analysis right here, and let's just look at the weekly on here. So right now, the way I've got this is that the C wave is done, that we are trying to work our way higher. That's my expectation. So we'll see if the market continues to do that. Right now, it does. It looks like 1, 2, like it's putting in a third wave. But if that's the case, this will continue to push to the upside. GLD, let's go back to the moving average view. Daily, weekly, gold just continues to be stuck in the middle. Up 78 cents on Friday, down 77 cents on the week. It's just stuck in the middle of this sideways corrective consolidation pattern. I mean, that's all I can say, and I just don't think it's done yet. So we'll see how much longer and what does it take for this fourth wave to finish off. Could be some kind of a triangle. It could be that we've got an A, B, C. It's really, really hard to determine at this point. Let's go back. Let's go to silver. Move on to silver. Down 4 cents on Friday, down 42 cents on the week, but I still think it's trending. I still think it's pushing. Hasn't given us any indication to say that it's not, and it's been acting pretty doggone strong. Okay, so no change in the picture of what we're looking at in here on SLV. And then when we take a look at copper, up 46 cents on Friday, CPR, and up 10 cents on the week. So a little bit of it's still inside that prior week surge. We did not take out that high yet. It just looks almost like a little bull flag, doesn't it? Or pennant maybe. I mean, depends on how you draw it. And here's the flag, here's the pole, here's the flag. This would imply that we got more to come when it breaks out. That's the way it looks to me. And it may have started that on Friday. Because you could almost make this like a little pennant. I'll tell you what, let me just do that like this. Something like that. And something like this. There you go. And let me just do visibility 1 day only. Okay. All right. So that's where we are with copper. All right. Let's move on to our macro. Okay. Here's the three sectors we talked about in the macro. IYR, the real estate ETF, up 29 cents. And I had to do a double take because when I came over here on the weekly view for the bank ETF, S&P Bank ETF, it was up 29 cents. I was like, okay, am I looking at the same time frames? Yes, I am, but it's kind of weird. They're both just up 29 cents. So a little bit of volatility in that the banks were reporting, but that's where we sit. It still looks like it's trying to push to the upside. When you take a look at the home construction, here's that week move down, talked about on the ETF dashboard, right? And this was down $3.69 on the week. On a weekly basis, you still have the 10 crossing above the 21 in here. It's just, I don't know. We'll see where we go, but that's where we sit with that. And the semis, let's pull the semis up. SMH up 282. Man, these just keep pushing. And this is up 52 cents on the SOX index. So this has not gotten above the July 24 highs, right? A year ago. But SMH has. Now, the other thing I want to just point out in here, because, this jumped out at me I know moving averages are lagging indicators. I know that. But you do have the 21 below the 55, and you got this big, strong counter trend move right here. Now, we've been up from this low. We've been up for 14 weeks. So I could only find another 14 weeks. I found a move, I think it was in 2019, where they were up 17 weeks and then got a really strong pullback on the semis to the 55-week moving average. So just keep that in mind. I've already talked about the fact that I think the market could have an intermediate or short-term peak sometime between now and the first week of September. You match that surge that happened back like 2019 of 17 weeks. That means 3 more weeks here. That puts us into August. Yeah, so I'm really, really wary of this. But so just, if just something to keep in mind. All right, that's where we sit for this weekend. I have the trade ideas video out on Sunday as usual. Everyone have a wonderful weekend. Try to stay cool. I'll tell you what, it's heating up like it usually does in mid-July here in Texas. Everyone have a great weekend.